So I grew up in a position where I know exactly what it feels like to walk into a restaurant and, like Denny's, if you can call that a restaurant, right? That was my idea of a restaurant. And go in there and freak out and look at the menu and see how much something cost before I ordered it, you know, and worry. And if you took a girl out, praying she wouldn't order something expensive, and then feeling rotten for not wanting her to have what you wanted her to have, which is anything she wanted. Now, I can remember going, you know, even after I've made some money, like when I bought the castle, that was like this big metaphor for me of breaking through, that I was gonna buy this because I always was so spiritually driven and emotionally driven, but I never really did well financially. So for me, buying this castle, I thought, this is where I want my children to grow up someday. This is like me driving the stakes in the ground. I'm going to show myself that I can take the invisible and make it visible. So it became my like last stand kind of thing. I'm going to find a way, and I found a way. And I'll tell you what, part of what made it a must and part of what changed me from making $38,000 a year to making $1 million a year within 1 year was having a son that I wasn't planning coming into this world. So I grew up with so much pain. I linked so much pain to finances and not having it. I always swore I would not have a child until I was set financially because I didn't want them to go through that. I didn't want them to go through hearing father after father leave and your mother say things to them that you wouldn't want to ever have said to you. And a sense of worthlessness and a sense of frustration and fear and humiliation. I didn't want a son or daughter to be born to me and to go to school and have pants that were way too high because they grew too fast and your family couldn't afford to buy pants. And have the kids say things that are just silly but feel so cruel when you're a little kid. High water becomes your nickname, you know, and you're embarrassed and humiliated and devastated and you feel it's so unfair. And you see other kids can go and do all these things and you can't. They make fun of you for it and you didn't do anything. And then you don't want to be mad at your family. It's not your family's fault. Or being in a position where you got to go to the thrift store to buy a suit so you can take a girl to a dance. And the suit is about 30 years old, out of style. Not having enough money to take the person to dinner, so you make excuses not to take the girl to dinner. Getting older and being on your own and trying to figure out how to eat because you had no money at all. And going into a grocery store and eating food in the grocery store as I walked around. Stealing it, basically. Not basically, that's what it was stealing. I just didn't take it out of the store, I took it out of the store inside me. Somehow I rationalized that wasn't stealing. I left the package in the store. And I kid about it now. I mean, I used to just cry. Values conflict, sir? How do you think I felt? Honestly, being one of my highest values and I'm stealing to survive, I'm eating somebody's food in the store, walking around, also freaked out I'm going to get caught. I remember more than once when somebody come by and I knew people in the store because I grew up. I used to go in these stores. I used to shop every day for my family. My mom never went to the grocery store. I shopped every day for our meals and came home and made them. A lot of people I knew. I got something in my mouth. Hi, Tony. Just freaking inside. Just freaking inside. Not having any money for a car, working as a janitor, taking buses for 2 hours to get there so I could work for 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the night, jump back on the buses, go home and go to high school. Living in somebody's laundry room. Finally getting a car and having that car be an old Volkswagen, 1960 Volkswagen, with no reverse. So I had to park on a hill. I always parked on a hill so I could get back out. Remember, being in a position where I was really in love with a lady and watching another man come pick her up in a limousine and knowing she wanted the finer things in life. I couldn't provide them and I felt it was so unfair because I really loved her. And I felt like she loved me, but she also wanted significant life, certainty. Looking around at my life and just feeling hopeless and worthless. Living with a woman who I liked a lot but did not love, really wanted it out of the relationship with, but stayed in it because she paid half the rent. Convincing myself I should stay with her for security, for $400 a month split between us. Giving up my dignity for $200. It's true. Thinking about what I dreamed I would do with my life and knowing it would never happen because I didn't have the resources, I thought. Being in the position where I saw other people having the kind of life that I really wanted and just thinking life was unfair and feeling hurt and sad And having one of those things after another, after another, after another. Finally getting so determined. Finally deciding that it was nobody else's fault, it was mine. Finally deciding this would change absolutely now, no matter what. Finally looking at an empty chair, knowing I could not pay my rent, knowing I couldn't answer my phone because I owed everybody money in town, every kind of bill collector, knowing my electricity is about to be turned off, and hearing this song by Neil Diamond saying, I am, I said, and no one heard, not even the chair, and looking at an empty chair and thinking that is so true. That I wasn't even supporting myself, much less changing the world, much less doing what I was put here for. I was so busy trying to survive that I wasn't doing anything to make the world better. And I got hungry. Not for food, for meaning. I got hungry enough that I stopped blaming everybody else, and I decided this was going to change. It was going to change right now, no matter what. And I went for a run on the beach, and I gained 38 pounds because I didn't want to make it that it was that bad. It wasn't that bad. I was still young. It wasn't my fault. It's my mother's fault. She threw me out. That's everybody else's fault. So I hated the way I felt. I hated the woman I was with. I hated my life. So the fastest way to change the way you feel is eat. Because I didn't want to do drugs because I linked pain to that. So I gained my 38 pounds. But on that day, I'll tell you what, man, I decided I am much more than what I'm demonstrating mentally and emotionally and spiritually and physically and financially. And one day I changed my life and I went on this run, 38 pounds, bouncing back and forth, full tilt, man, with every ounce of myself. Song in my ears from a group called Heart, called Barracuda. And I pushed myself as hard as I'd ever pushed myself in my entire life. Total intensity. And I came back and wrote down everything in my life I would no longer settle for ever again. Selling for less than I believe in, selling for a life of survival, being in a relationship that I don't love, being fat, being broke, hiding from people, lying. That is not who I am. And I wrote down everything in my life I was totally committed to, so I wasn't just going to solve a problem. That was sickening enough. I was going to create the life, and I knew it was here. Somewhere inside yourself, knowing you deserve more, so do your children, so do the people around you. Life deserves to see more of you show up. And not lying to yourself and saying it's okay. Not saying it's a terrible feeling or it sucks. Saying what it really is. It's disgusting, it's vulgar, it's humiliating, it's horrible. Because it's with that, when you get that kind of truth with yourself, you'll find the drive to change anything. Because then it'll be a total must. When it's a must, you'll find a million ways to do it. And when you find a million ways and you start doing a few, pretty soon you're proud of yourself and you got momentum. And I did. I remember thinking, my God, if I could ever make $2,000 in a month. And then I did it. And it was like, God, if you could make $5,000 in a month, I mean $60,000 in a year. And then it was like, wow. 10,000. And then I made $10,000 in a day, and I was 19 years old. I was like, yes. I'm going to have pants long enough. No worries. I'm going to drive a decent car. I'm going to have a life that I want. I can give to my church. I can do this. I can do that. Then I went back to see my friends. All these people I love. I was so excited. I want to share with them. I said, let's do things. Let's fly to Egypt, and let's race camels between the pyramids. He said, what's the matter with you? You're just into money? I said, no, I'm just not into poverty anymore. You know? I said, I've worked really hard. I've added massive value. I've done this and this and this. I've helped people's lives this way, that way, and I actually got paid for it. I actually do what I love, and because I do what I love so well, I can actually go out and do these other things too and have a great life. But what I got was I thought if I had money, growing up, I saw that not having money meant pain, no love, arguments with my parents, all this loss, all this separation, not being one of the cool kids, not even having a bicycle till an uncle goes and finds an old one and shines it up and paints it for me and makes it and gives me my first bicycle. And he didn't have a whole lot of money, but he had an unbelievable heart.